Good evening to all of you, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, you are welcome here on the Éveil des Consciences platform. Now, this is the top story in continental news. The entire African continent is talking about it. This unexpected statement from Senegalese Prime Minister Ousmane Sonko is bringing tears. In Paris, but even more so within ECOWAS, Ousmane Sonko, the Senegalese Prime Minister, whom we all know for his activism, has truly stirred things up for France. A few days ago, we saw France lamenting the growing closeness between Senegal and Burkina Faso. But this latest move goes beyond the complaints France has expressed. In other words, what France feared is exactly what France is now witnessing. President Ousmane Sonko, Prime Minister Ousmane Sonko, sharply criticized ECOWAS very directly during an interview he gave to the Burkinabe National Radio and Television. He called them out thoroughly. He called out France as well. In other words, he set them straight. To those who claim they are worried and say they don't want closer ties between Senegal and Burkina Faso because the Senegalese president is democratically elected, while on the other side they are putschists, Ousmane Sonko responded. Sonko. So, what did he say? And so, that's what we're going to talk about in this video conference, which I ask you to share as much as possible, as usual, and above all, don't forget to give lots of hearts, lots of likes. Subscribe to this channel, Samouraï Théa, and invite your friends to subscribe as well. So, you know that Prime Minister Ousmane Sonko is traveling. He was on a trip to Burkina Faso on May 16th and 17th, 2025. So, first of all, to summarize his remarks, he called on everyone to respect the sovereign decision of the 3 AES countries to leave ECOWAS. This sovereign decision must be respected. Respecting it does not mean forcing them to come back, but rather respecting their sovereignty. And their departure from ECOWAS should not hinder friendly, fraternal, commercial and economic relations. He is responding to France. So, the Senegalese Prime Minister Ousmane Sonko made it clear that despite the exit of the AES countries, Mali, Burkina Faso and Niger, from ECOWAS, he said, even though they have left ECOWAS, there has been no break in commercial, economic or social relations. In other words, even though they have left, they are still together with all the other countries. They have left, yes. They have their sovereignty, yes. But commercial relations continue. Economic relations continue, social relations continue, since they are the same people. So, no one, this is my comment, no one can prevent Senegal from maintaining friendly relations with the AES countries. No one. That's what it means. He says this. He says it clearly now. He says, our region is destined to live together. We are bound by history and by geography. He says, we are bound by history and by geography. We have no choice. We are obliged to be together. This is the first part of his statement. Now, he didn't stop there. He went deeper. He says that ECOWAS made mistakes. It made mistakes. Fatal mistakes. What are these mistakes that ECOWAS made? And that hurt Ousmane Sonko so much. Share this video. Share the video as much as possible. So he says this. He says, ECOWAS made monumental mistakes. What are these mistakes made by ECOWAS? So, he says mistakes were made mainly by ECOWAS in the management of a number of situations.
He says his mistakes are represented by the threats of military intervention in Niger and by the embargo against Mali, which he described as unacceptable. He says the embargo against Mali is unacceptable. The threat of military intervention in Niger was a big mistake. It was not normal. Meanwhile, it was France that was behind all of this. The French and others supported ECOWAS's intervention on the side of Niger. So he dismisses everything with a wave of his hand. He continues. He says, you can't intervene militarily in a country when you haven't given it enough support to deal with security problems. No, Ousmane Sonko spoke. He says this. That means the same words we were saying here at the time. He says, if you want to intervene militarily in a country, you must first have helped that country solve its security problems. But in clear terms, this joint force that is supposed to go and put Bazoum back in his seat, this force should go to help Niger fight its security problems, not to try to install someone in power. That's what it means. He says the military intervention was not justified. He continues. He says this is a double standard on the part of ECOWAS. So the Senegalese Prime Minister believes that problems are not solved in the way ECOWAS handled the events that occurred in the AES countries. He says this is not how problems are solved. No, not at all. ECOWAS should not resolve the problem like this. He says this. He says, if there is a coup d'etat, what led to this coup d'etat? He says, and why? When there is constitutionally manipulation, ECOWAS, when there is constitutional manipulation, ECOWAS doesn't say anything about it. You see, he is really criticizing ECOWAS. Here we start to recognize Ousmane Sonko. Yes. He says, ECOWAS doesn't say anything when there is constitutional manipulation. He says, when opposition members are oppressed, ECOWAS doesn't say anything until certain situations arise. Then statements are released, embargoes are imposed, and there are threats of military intervention. It is these mistakes that have led us to this point. I hope that ECOWAS will learn all the necessary lessons from this. This is what he declared. Yes, the gentleman spoke. He was very clear. When constitutions are changed to stay in power indefinitely, ECOWAS doesn't say anything. That's what's happening right now in Côte d'Ivoire. ECOWAS doesn't say anything about it. When opposition members are denied their rights, ECOWAS doesn't say anything. How many opposition members in Côte d'Ivoire today are being denied their rights? ECOWAS doesn't say anything about it, but it's only when things reach a certain point, when the military decides to take responsibility and carry out a coup d'etat. That's when they start issuing decrees, sanctions, and so on, and so on. So, he concludes by saying that ECOWAS must establish rules that it can enforce for everyone. If a situation were to arise in Nigeria, could ECOWAS threaten military intervention? The answer is no. So that's what Ousmane Sonko had to say. Ladies and gentlemen, we will come back to other parts of his statement. But in the meantime, please share the video as much as possible. Thank you very much.